You might like video games where you're rewarded for exploring all types of fun environments. Well, we're here with a bunch of games you might want to check out. Here are 15 new exploration games of 2019. Now, keep in mind, we put together this list of games with fun exploration elements, but many games have some form of it. It's pretty broad, so there are a lot more out there. Let us know your favorites in the comments, but let's get started off with number 15 and talk about Metro Exodus, a game that released earlier this year that was a bit of a departure for the series in terms of kind of growing and expanding. It went open world. This is the first Metro game to keep you outside for an extended period of time, roaming around larger open-ended environments, and thankfully it works. The game still has a ton of tension to it, but the environments are absolutely beautiful and worth exploring, and that's why we're putting it on this list. The look of these worlds, the vibe of these worlds makes it a treat to traipse through and just check out. Plus, it also helps that the game totally rewards you for going out of your way and checking out a weird abandoned building or doing a small side quest by giving your main character a lot more useful equipment that you're gonna wish you had. It's so much fun just to explore this weird, mystical, war-torn world that you gotta check it out if you haven't already. Metro Exodus is out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. But moving on to number 14, Subnautica Below Zero. This takes a ton of stuff that made the first game real great and expands upon it by placing you in a brand new scenario. New characters, locations, biomes, flora, and fauna work to give this standalone expansion a pretty fresh feel. Yeah, that base feedback loop of going out, exploring new depths, collecting materials and crafting new gear and expanding your base is still there, it seems, but it's a good loop and it still looks like it's a ton of fun to hop on one of your seafaring vehicles and plunge just far into the unknown waters to see what's going on or to just look for new stuff. They mixed up a decent amount of the crafting system as well, it seems, so it's not exactly the original base game. There's still learning to be done as far as systems go, rather than just being like, well, I played Subnautica, so I know these 3 things to make a battery. It looks like things are shaken up a bit more. Exploration was the real heart and soul of the original Subnautica, and that's still very much the case though with Subnautica Below Zero. That said, the game is still in early access, with the development team adding in all sorts of new stuff on a fairly regular basis. At least you know they're good for it by now. So the game you're playing now could be very different from what ends up being in the final product, but still, it's worth checking out. But moving on to number 13, we have Greedfall, which is a very interesting adventure RPG game set in a lush, beautiful world that's almost like, I don't know what you would call this style, fantasy colonial. You have dudes in tri-corner hats, you have muskets, you have lots of buckles, but then you have woods, you have bears, and also elements of magic. It seems like a really cool take, and we're putting it on this list because that seems like a world we genuinely want to explore. It is open world, it is open-ended, you do create your own character and do whatever you want, and it seems incredibly ambitious. It is being developed by Spiders and published by Focus Home Interactive, a combo which, if you know that combo, you know. They're behind games more recently like Bound by Flame and The Technomancer, which were ambitious RPGs with cool ideas on paper, but they came out a little rough around the edges. Still, Greedfall has the potential, and that's a world we want to check out, so we're mentioning it. It releases on September 10th, 2019 for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. But next at number 12, we're changing pace a little bit with a PC game called Eastshade. This is way more relaxed. It's probably the more relaxing game on this list because there's no combat, but it's still incredibly immersive, and it looks like it's a world you're going to want to dip your toes into and check out. This released in February, and in Eastshade, you're technically a traveling painter who's checking out this island called Eastshade. It's gorgeous, it's filled with mystery and interesting people to talk to and learn from. There's lots of talking, but there's also lots of capturing and appreciating the environment in front of you, and while the game, when you play it, doesn't look as good as the screenshots suggest, the design, the art direction is still something you want to check out, and every new area or new piece of woods or cliff top you come across makes that journey, makes that adventure, makes that discovery really worth it. This game is only on PC, but if you want something a little more low-key, I guess you can call it technically walking simulator, but it's just a good experience and it's worth checking out. Now, next at number 11, we have a game called Outward. To be honest, this is a game that we haven't talked about enough on this channel, and you guys have been begging us. Outward is an open world RPG with tons of element and an incredible amount of challenge. Now, like any RPG, the world is ripe for discovery that is incredibly rewarding, because the more you explore, the more stuff you find to make your character better. And the whole concept is you're going to want to make your character better because the game is incredibly challenging in a lot of ways. Magic and combat is not easy. Taking care of your character and his or her health is not easy, down to minute details like being stuck in the cold at night. The game is extremely unforgiving. The world itself is extremely unforgiving, but it's worth exploring, hence why it's on this list. It did release earlier this year in March, and it's out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Definitely check it out if it's your thing. Hey, but next at number 10, we have Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. We have to mention an exploration game like this because it's one of the hallmarks of exploration gameplay. It's Castlevania-style gameplay. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, of course, is a spiritual successor to the original Castlevania games, very much connected with one of the original Castlevania creators, and it is absolutely worth playing. The environments here are absolutely gorgeous, and the style of gameplay, the mix of combat and puzzle and ability stuff, makes exploring every avenue, every corner of the map, of this 2D map, totally worth it. This is like raw 100% exploration gameplay in the purest sense, in its earliest sense, but also in one of its more refined senses. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little too fancy, I just like these types of games. Anyway, play Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It's out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and the Switch version's a little rough, but yeah, it's there too. Next at number 9, we have Control. This is Remedy's new game. The guys behind stuff like the original Max Payne, Alan Wake, and Quantum Break. You are thrust into this massive skyscraper in New York City that is the headquarters of a clandestine organization known as the Bureau of Control. And many times the developers have talked up this building as kind of being one of the main characters, one of the stars of the show. You spend all your time here roaming and exploring it, and from what we've seen, it seems absolutely freaking massive and cavernous. It's almost magical and dreamlike in a way. But from the time we've gotten our hands on it, we've seen hidden corridors, weird secret passageways, tons of branching avenues with a Metroidvania-style map. This building that's named the oldest house, this headquarters, seems like a place we really want to explore. Not to mention the combat and all the powers and stuff and the trippiness just looks really interesting. Control is out on August 27th, and it's releasing on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. But next up at number 8, we have Ancestors, The Humankind Odyssey. This is a game where you're going to explore the world from the perspective of an ape and possibly an early human. So we've talked about this game quite a bit now. We're really looking forward to it, but it's kind of been under the radar. It was initially announced as Patrice Désilets' new game, one of the creators of Assassin's Creed. He's not with Ubisoft anymore, but this game seems incredibly ambitious because it is seemingly a survival adventure exploration game, but with the whole focus on an early man and the evolution of apes, learning how to survive, learning how to use crude tools. That's essentially that concept in gameplay form, and we're really looking forward to it. Exploring trees and jungles as a monkey? I'm in. I just really hope it can live up to that ambition. It's dropping on PC August 27th, and then it's dropping on consoles December 2019. Now, next up at number 7, we have Shenmue III. We want to give this game some love because we're Shenmue fans here. That being said, some of the trailers and gameplay stuff, we really still don't know what to make of this game. But we're including it on this list because exploration is kind of the name of the game for these types of games. You, as the main character, are essentially tasked with roaming around environments, talking to people, and figuring things out. I don't want to say the Shenmue games are kind of like detective games. They're not, but you do ask people a lot of questions, and you do explore new places you've never been before. And the original 2 games, which have recently been re-released in like a collection if you want to check them out, they are very interesting, and they were really good and charming for the time. They haven't held up that great in some areas, but we're really hoping Shenmue 3 kind of takes some of the core ideas that were great in those games and brings it to the 21st century. But thankfully, we'll finally find out when it releases November 19th, 2019 on PC and PS4. Because next up at number 6, we have The Outer Worlds, a game that we've talked up quite a bit. It's one of our most anticipated for 2019, and essentially this is a new Obsidian RPG, somewhat in the vibe and style and approach of something like New Vegas, another game that they worked on. Just think essentially first-person combat, open-ended action and tactics, and lots of people to talk to, branching dialogues, just some RPG stuff, but with a good sprinkle of action. The Outer Worlds looks to have a lot, and it's a world we want to explore and discover because it seems like a space ruled by corporations and ownership. The game is going to have a few planets for you to bounce back and forth between to explore. It's more of a story-based thing than just kind of like an open-ended hop in your spaceship, fly around thing. But still, these weird, strange alien planets look very different from what we've seen in other space games, so we really want to check them out. Not to mention there's cool weapons and different armor types and just stuff worth digging around for. It could be a really addicting game, and if it's anything like Obsidian's previous games, we are all about it, and we can't wait to get our hands on it October 25th of this year for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and eventually Nintendo Switch. But next up at number 5, we've got another unconventional one because we wanted to throw a couple of weird ones on this list. We have something called Supraland. This game is something else. You probably haven't seen something like this. They essentially take a mix between some puzzle elements of Portal, a lot of Zelda and Metroidvania style stuff, all in the concept of this little tiny world that you explore as a toy. You're in a land of toys and imagination, and with some light combat and some puzzle elements, you gotta use your head and fight your way to really just gain abilities that will help you progress, and it's cool, man. People have been loving this game on PC for a reason because it's just a fun and interesting world to run around in. Just the fact that you're a toy plopped into this little sandbox toy world by your owner got a little bit of a Toy Story vibe, and you know what? We're down with that. We haven't seen anything much like that. And like I said, the fact that the game has a lot of like Metroidvania style elements, and considering we already talked up Bloodstained, that's something worth it if we're talking about exploration games. Supraland released earlier this year in April, and it's out on PC. But next at number 4, we have Days Gone, a game that was, somewhat mixed critically, but it has found a good fan base. And you know what? Even with the game's faults, if you think it has any, this world, this post-apocalyptic Pacific Northwest is absolutely worth exploring, and it's cool. You explore it as biker Deacon St. John on your motorcycle, and you're free to go wherever you want. And the game has lots of hidden stuff to discover, and lots of roaming packs of freakers, aka kind of zombies, that are always really fun to stumble across. You are constantly tasked with taking out these groups, flushing out their nests, and all the while rummaging around for salvage parts to upgrade and repair your weapons and keep your bike maintained. And if you run out of gas, you're going to be exploring even more because you actually have to keep that thing full. Not to mention, I think the story is really interesting. Even if you get bored of the gameplay halfway through, I think the story and the performance and just the mystery of the world will keep you interested. Days Gone is out right now on PS4. But down to number 3, we gotta mention The Outer Wilds because this game hasn't really hit YouTube enough. It's especially notable because exploration is pretty much what the vast majority of this game is. There's no items to unlock, no abilities to upgrade, you're just kicking around space. That's the main focus. 22 minutes at a time with the way the game is structured, trying to find some new stuff to help you unravel the central mystery of the game. That's it. The game literally just starts and gives you a spaceship and is like, cool, there you go find stuff. Everything after that is just there for you to explore at your own pace. Want to go try and explore every nook and cranny of the weird hollowed out planet? You can absolutely do that. Do you want to just not even break orbit and just hover in and explore the ins and outs of your home, starting location, and maybe find some cool remnants of ancient civilizations in the process? You can absolutely do that too. There's a lot to nerd out with this game. It's one of those exploration-based games where there really is no correct order to tackle and discover things, and everything will eventually thread together and point you to where you should maybe go next, but that's it. No flashing arrows telling you where to go, no lengthy exposition trying to get you in the right direction, just straight up open exploration. And that's what makes it so cool. The Outer Worlds is very unique. It released in May, and it's out on PC and Xbox One. Now next at number 2, we have Death Stranding. This is a game that is very strange. It's very weird, but it's being made by Hideo Kojima, famed video game auteur, creator of Metal Gear Solid. Those games have always gotten weird and wacky and out there, and Death Stranding looks like Hideo Kojima unleashed. We've finally gotten a glimpse of gameplay, and it seems like there is combat, there is stealth, but it also looks like there's a little bit of open world action. Hideo Kojima has recently taken to Twitter and shown off a screenshot with the main character looking at a mountain in the distance, and he explained the fact that you can go and climb that mountain. I didn't really totally expect like open world action adventure exploration here, but I'm looking forward to it. It looks like you can get different gear for your main character, there are vehicles. So exploration wise and just discovering this weird wide world Hideo Kojima and his team have created has us really interested. This game is dropping on PS4 November 8th, 2019. But finally, at number 1, if we're going to talk about exploration, we got to mention Borderlands 3. This is, of course, a return to form for everybody's favorite looter-shooter FPS RPG style game. And if you know Borderlands, you know the concept is mostly a lot of shooting, but also there's some exploration. And the worlds that Gearbox builds here are ripe for exploration and just figuring out, because the lore and the universe is so cool. This time you're going to have multiple planets. We've seen jungles, there's a big city planet, there are vehicles to traverse. And obviously, of course, by going around and running around these environments, there's going to be tons of loot, and the game has been hyping up a shit ton of guns. And it looks to be incredibly rewarding. A lot of the guys here at the gameranx office have gotten their hands on preview versions of the game, and they think it's definitely worth the hype. We'll find out soon, because Borderlands releases September 13th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Those are all the exploration games worth paying attention to, but we got a couple more for you, a couple of bonus games, including, first and foremost, we couldn't not mention The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, the remake for Nintendo Switch, dropping in September. There's not too much to say about it, really, other than that it looks freaking awesome. We also have Kenshi on PC, which is a bit of a weird, unconventional game with some exploration elements. And if you're looking for another game that's a little bit more lo-fi, a little bit more adventure-based, a little bit more gone home, we have What Never Was for PC and Mac. Those are all the exploration games we think are worth checking out, but there are so many more out there, so many games that encourage or the main gameplay concept is around exploration, so we want to hear from you guys down in the comments. What's one of your favorite games to explore? What upcoming game, maybe with a big world in it, are you looking forward to exploring? Let's talk about anything down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video and maybe learned about a new game, because that's what we're trying to do here, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because we put out new videos every single day. But, as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.